Welcome to the Build a Purposeful, Profitable Business Doing What You Absolutely Love podcast, hosted weekly by Ange, your business fairy godmother, professional copywriter, published author and business owner of 20 years. In every episode, Ange will deliver useful bite-sized insights to help you find your voice, position your value, demystify the marketing tech, and run your business on your terms.
Okay, welcome to episode 14 of my podcast. And today I'm joined by a wonderful guest. I have Eleanor Fong, and she is a purpose and life coach, and she specializes in setting the path really for entrepreneurs and coaches, especially to bring their gift to the world. So these are heart-centered people she's looking to help and guide. So Eleanor, welcome to the show.
Right. Thank you for inviting me, Ange.
You're welcome. Okay, so I've given you a little introduction there, but I'm sure you can do much better. So do just tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do and who you help.
Right. So for me, specifically, I know my purpose, and it is to help people. So this is a general purpose. And over the past few years, I have been navigating around this general purpose, stepping into different paths. So I came from the background of a therapist. So I'm a hypnotherapist as well as a neurofeedback therapist in the past. And right now, because over the years, I kind of gathered a lot of different skills while on this general purpose of helping people. So I would say my trajectory has changed a little right now. So right now I'm a purpose and life coach, gathering all the different skill sets I've learned, be it hypnosis, belief clearing, or other therapy modality, and coaching style to put into my purpose right now to help people to get onto their path, because I know the difficulty, the challenges that one may have in terms of clarification of their purpose, as well as the along the way itself, the challenges they may face. So I experienced that, and I know how difficult that is, which is why I am stepping up right now to help people who has this difficulty I faced before. Right.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so we're in the right place. So in this episode specifically, Eleanor, I want to touch on, for some of the listeners that they're wanting to set up the business or they have set up a business, and it's a purposeful business. It's doing something that they feel they want to bring to the world, but they're stuck on their message or getting their message out there. How do they articulate that message? How do they find and communicate to the world exactly the value that they bring? And I think when you're setting up a business, this is one of the hardest things to do, setting a business and get it right. So it'd be good if you could guide them based on your experience that you've had yourself on how they can get clarity on this.
Right. Yep. So I will be sharing my personal experience, and along the way, sharing some tips how I managed to gain clarity. Yep. So first of all, it has been very difficult for me navigating through these years to gain clarity on my message, because when I first know that I want to help people, I was quite fixated on finding a specific modality to help people. So I was very fixated on being a therapist. So I ventured into hypnotherapy and then neurofeedback therapy. And what transpired over time is, after that, I was switching into becoming a purpose coach, and I had this huge issue of who my target audience should be and what specific modalities I should use. So this has been very confusing throughout the years. And what I realized is that one of the first steps in gaining clarity on hindsight is not to, get too specific about things. One of the first steps is to just start out with a general purpose. So once you have a general purpose, which I believe your audience should have, so something like, helping people. And once you have that, the next step is to really just take action on the first guided steps to take. So for example, when I first know that I want to help people, the first step I know I need to take is to be certified in hypnotherapy, because that was my interest then. So I take whatever is within my awareness, and I just take action on it. And things transpire after one another because of that first action I took. If I haven't gone to take my hypnotherapy certification, I may be still stuck in the corporate world. So taking the first step is one of the first thing to do, and things will follow one after the other. And
Right.
yeah, that is where I eventually get into the neurofeedback therapy field, which has been my purpose for the first 3 years in this helping people journey. So at first I thought I wanted to be a hypnotherapist, but then I went into neurofeedback. So things may change, accept that things may
Yeah.
change.
That's a really good point, because you can stop yourself from progressing by thinking that you have to go a certain way. And then I think a lot of entrepreneurs find this along the way, that when they start doing something else happens and they go on a completely different path. Right. And that was the same for me as well. I did exactly the same thing. And so it's just go with it, right? Go with the flow and see where it takes you.
And one more important point is, once you have this intuition to take up take certain action to start the whole process, you need to really make a decision. So sometimes we can think that, okay, we want to try this, we want to try, for example, being a hypnotherapist. But if you don't you can make a very firm decision, you won't be able to go into that flow, go into that path with ease, and that confusion will follow you. So I think at that point in time, I kind of realized that, hey, maybe I shouldn't start with hypnotherapy first. And I chanced upon this neurofeedback thing, which I see a link with hypnosis. And it makes perfect sense for me to start that first rather than going into hypnotherapy, because, in the neurofeedback, I will be working for others. So financially speaking, it makes a lot of logical sense. So that's why that was what stood out to me, and I take action on that. And not just take action on that, I make a very strong decision that I am a neurofeedback therapist. And I actually did all the manifestation technique to manifest that job into my life, despite being someone who comes from a totally different background, economics, and they are looking for psychology background. Yep.
Right, very different. Okay, so how was that journey for you? What did you have any particular challenges along the way, because it was so different from what you were doing in the past?
Right, definitely a lot of challenges, like so many to list. And I would say something that really stood out is that one of the main challenge is self-doubt and insecurities, fear of judgment, and fear of failure as well. So along the way, because I have such a different background going into this field, when I meet new clients, they will start to question me, like my credentials and all that. And even though I am trained by my boss, then like very well trained, I believe I'm very well trained and I can do my job well. But at some level, the insecurity still seeps in. So at a conscious level, I know it doesn't make sense. I am well trained, but I still feel that strong insecurity because of all the limiting beliefs within me. The belief that I'm not worthy. So even if such belief doesn't make sense, it will seep into it and it will be difficult. So that was my main challenge.
And I think that's a challenge that a lot of people have when they're starting out on a new business, because if you're starting out on setting up your own business, this is new in itself. This is a new experience that they don't have, and they've got to find their feet along the way. And I think a fear of failure, a fear of not being good enough, not being worthy is a very, very common fear. So is there any advice you can give on how to overcome this?
Right. So, like even right now when I'm doing purpose coaching, I can see that this is the common theme that pop up. So, one way that can help is to try and find out the limiting belief that is causing all these self-doubts and insecurities, because there could be a variety of it. And really find out the root belief that cause you to feel like you're not good enough. Find out the first experience in your life whereby you were told or you learned that you're not good enough, and deal with that experience, deal with that memory. That is what I do in therapy. But I mean, at a conscious level, you can do it as well.
Right.
And right. So once
So
you
a lot of
become
your
aware
work
of
then
it, you can
is
let go.
actually subconscious, is it? You're working with people on a subconscious level,
Right, right.
right? Yeah.
So, correct. But they can do it they can work with themselves at the subconscious level as well, by just digging deeper within and just allowing the first impression of the answers that come to them. For example, I ask myself, so where did I learn this? Where did I learn that I am not good enough? And the first memory that popped up, if you trust it, yeah, that is from your subconscious. So it can be that easy.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. And generally, is this something from people's childhood?
Yeah, correct. You're very right. So most of the time, yeah, it will be from around age 0 to 7 years old, whereby we are all very suggestible. So we kind of
Yeah.
take in all the beliefs that may not make
Mm,
sense logically.
yeah. I mean, this is the case. I mean, we're molded by the beliefs of our parents and people that are around us as we were children, and maybe what we were taught in school and things like that as well, right? So, like for me, for example, when I set up my business, I didn't have a model for setting up a business because I didn't know anybody that was in business, and my parents were not business owners, so they had very different beliefs in how to make a living, for example. So it took me a while to go through that journey as well and go through those limiting beliefs to be able to believe that, yeah, I can do what I do now. It's always a journey. Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah, exactly. It takes time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it can be fast as well.
Okay. So how can we make it faster?
That's a good question. Thanks for asking that. Yeah. So, because all these limiting beliefs are on the unconscious level, right? Sometimes you may not even be aware of it consciously. So
Right.
it may be difficult because you are not aware to deal with
Mm,
that. And that is why a lot of people get stuck. And that is why the journey takes very long. They have to kind of push through. They have to kind of use these affirmations that I am enough, I'm good enough to continue to kind of brainwash themselves. Not brainwash, I would say reprogram their mind. But
mm,
because this is like, adding a pen on a pen on a wall, which has all those ugly painting, you're just putting on top of the broken surfaces, all that, but you're not dealing with the root. So that's
okay.
why a lot of times these kind of methods may take a long time for you to push through. So the
Right.
fastest route will be to get to the root and uproot that limiting belief, and then add on the new affirmations to really change how you perceive the world and perceive yourself.
Right. Okay. All right. And just building that confidence then in yourself and what you can do. Yeah. Okay. So, when people come to you, for example, and they want to set up a business and they're not sure how to put their message across, what kind of things do you go through with them in order to try and change that for them?
Mhm. I would say, for me, it would be more like I have a variety of ways to deal with things, and it really depends on where the client is at. So I can work on a more conscious level first, using some questioning and for them to reflect upon their life. So things like usually most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, our life experiences will inform us of our purpose. So we'll be able to gain clarity because of that. For example, why I want to help people is because when I was in university, I felt so stressed and helpless. And I had no one to turn to, even my family, because they are quarreling and I can't seek help from them. So I decided to become the person to who I was looking for when I was younger. So look
Right.
at your experience, and I will be coaching them through this. And also, on top of that, our higher self, okay, some people call our subconscious our higher self, or whatever you want to call it, that higher intelligence within you knows a lot more than you think you know. So one of the
Right.
fastest way and most accurate way to find out what it is that you want to do, or who is your
Uh-huh.
main target audience and all that, getting clues is to talk to your higher intelligence within. And I would use things like hypnotherapy to bring them into that state whereby they can communicate freely with that
Mm,
higher intelligence and get the
mm,
answers they need at that point in their life. So this is something I do.
right. So that's kind of just making them really relaxed, putting them in a state where they're extremely brainwave wise, they're very relaxed, right?
Right. That is one way.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And there was one case where I watched this lady, and she was trying to get her message, trying to work out what her purpose was, basically. So she knew she wanted to set up a business. She wanted to help people, and she wanted to build a business based on what she could give to people, but she didn't know what it was at that point. And she went on a rant on Facebook within a private Facebook group, and she went on this rant for I would say a good 20 to maybe 30 minutes, where she was just talking to the camera and just say, and really being like quite angry and a bit depressed and really frustrated. And she just kept talking, I just can't do this. There's nothing coming up, blah, 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 blah. And she went on like this for a good 20 to 30 minutes. And then suddenly you saw her face change. It was just amazing to see her face change when it was like the light bulb went off. She suddenly realized and went, oh my God, that's what I can do. That's what I can do. And it's just a sudden realization that she suddenly had it.
Right.
And it was a case of just talking it out until she came to it. Yeah.
So that is one very direct way as well, because I think the principle lies on your intention. So as long as you have the intention, and when she rented, right, there was the underlying desire and intention to find out her purpose. So the intention is the main driving factor for you to eventually discover your purpose. How strong the intention will determine on how much you get to know and how fast you get to know. So first of all, set the intention. And one way is, when you set intention, right, then you have to let go and just observe what shows up in your life, because the universe will provide you some clues in your physical reality to tell you what you should do. So it can be like people coming into your life and tell you certain things. They didn't mean it, but that was the exact message for you. So that was what happened to me, which was what started me on this coaching journey.
That's the same with me.
All right. So definitely can resonate.
That's exactly, one person said one thing to me, and it was like, right, I'm going to prove you wrong.
All right.
I'm going to prove you wrong. And I went on this mission then to do the whole thing. So, and then another thing that's helped me when I get stuck on things, and this is kind of being a copywriter as well, like a lot of writers go through writer's block where they're faced with a blank page and it's, okay, what do I write? And I've never really had that problem. But what I do notice is that as I start to write things, I get warmed up to writing after a while, and then it gets easier and easier as I go, right? But the first part is a bit of a struggle, but then it gets easier. And like journaling ideas on a piece of paper, and just, as you say, just letting it go free and not judging what comes out, just letting things come out, then suddenly you get these amazing ideas that you would never have come up with before. I think that's another way to go about it. And one time I was asked, and it was kind of like for content. This is another thing when people are saying, well, what content should I put out? I need to go on social media. I need to put out my content. And for me, it's the same thing. It's just focus on what are your clients' issues? What problems are you solving for them? Or what issues do they have? And just list every single thing you can remember a customer saying about what they needed or what was missing or how they were angry or whatever. And so when you start that, sometimes it's like, I can't think of anything, right? Or you've got 3 things written down on a piece of paper, and it's like, well, that's it. And then as you just keep going, and then suddenly I was filling pages and pages and pages, just with all of this stuff. And then when I looked at it afterwards, I was like, oh, I've got content for years here.
Right.
Yeah. So it really does work that way.
Right, the intention, setting the intention that you want to find out something, because the writing itself, when you first start to write, no matter whether there's something that is coming up, is your intention to tell your unconscious that you want answers. So even when you start to ask yourself a question, your unconscious will provide you the answer until you're satisfied with it. So that is how the mind works. So you're absolutely right on that.
Yes. And I've heard in the past as well, basically people saying that we all have the answer inside us.
Mm-hmm.
We have the answer, right? It's just getting
Right.
to it. And that's
Right.
what you help people to do, is get to
Exactly.
that answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that will help people with building their message for their business. What is their purpose? What's driving them? What do they want to do as they
Mm-hmm.
set up this business, and how do they want to go forward? And I think also just being accepting of the fact that wherever you are now, or whatever your plan is, it's not necessarily where you're going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
As we both know, because we've ended up in different places than
Right.
we had originally planned,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so nothing's set in stone, and it's just go with it, enjoy the journey,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you will end up where you want to be. And that's what I say to my clients when I'm doing branding with them, is like, don't worry if it's not exactly what you feel comfortable with right now. It will come out. It will come.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and that's what happened with me as well. It will come.
Yeah, just trust. I think the idea is, after you have set the intention, right, the next step is to let go and trust the process. Because if you don't let go, your mind will always be fixated on the idea of, I can't find my purpose. What is my purpose, and that kind of thing. But if you let
Yeah.
go, you give space for your mind, for the answers to come through, because your ego won't be fighting with the answers. Yep. So letting
Right.
go is one of the ways. That's why sometimes when people do some work, right, they have some difficulty, they can't think of the answer, and when they go and do some other stuff, like say running, exercising, they just have that inspiration coming through. Yeah, so that's how it works.
Yes, it's true. And then it's like, I need a piece of paper. I need to write this down before I forget.
Right.
Oh dear. Okay. So Eleanor, is there anything else that you want to send a message out today? Anything else that you want people to know about before we finish off?
Right. I would say there's this question that I find really powerful. That is a very simple question, but it can reveal a lot, and it's very powerful. Yep. And it is that. So I'll ask you a question. I'll ask your audience a question right now, and I want you to really reflect upon it, think
Okay.
deeply, and see what transpires. Trust the first impression that comes out. Don't overthinking. So the question is, if money and other things in the world is not a concern at all, if you can do absolutely anything you want, what is that thing that you want to choose to do for the rest of your life? Even if, without any money concerns at all, you will live a very comfortable life. What is it that you want to do?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without limitations.
And are you saying then that the answer that comes to mind straight away should be the one you go with?
I would say that is a start. So everything is a start. So things may change along the way. Yeah.
Okay.
So because a lot of times why we can't think of, why we can't perceive our authentic answers from within is because we place a lot of filters. We place a lot of limitation on ourselves with our ego, like saying, okay, this can't work because this don't earn me enough money. So that's why they use this money limitation to kind of block the answer that is trying to come through. So
Right.
that's how this question can be helpful. It will help you to remove that blockage, that filters.
And I've seen that with my clients as well. It's a case of getting the idea out of what their purpose is and where they want to go, and not worrying about how they're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So you just like, forget about how you're going to get there. It doesn't matter. So it's part of what you were saying about if there was no other issue, if it could just happen, what would it be? And don't worry about how, because you don't know how at the moment. That's too big a hurdle, the how. So it's just get that idea out there, and the how will eventually come.
That's right.
Yeah.
From your higher intelligence within, it will guide you.
And we all know the answer. We just don't know we know.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so it's been fantastic speaking with you today, and thank you so much for your time in coming on and enlightening listeners on this. Really, it's a very useful process to go through, and being being able to realize that you're not alone and everybody goes through this as well, I think is also really beneficial. So, Eleanor, is there something that where we could take listeners to find out more about you? And is there anything that you want to offer the listeners that where they could go and they might get some more information or benefit from your processes?
Right. So thanks for asking that, and thanks for inviting me once again. So I would say you can go to my website www.bloomin.space, which is BLOOMIN.SPACE, and you can find out more information about me and my coaching. Information will be there as well. Or alternatively, you can find me on Instagram. So I like to connect with people, like really talk to them one-on-one on Instagram. So you can DM me there. It will be at Eleanor_Fong_. So ELEANOR_FONG_. And Facebook-wise, it will be just my business name, Bloom In, BLOOM space IN. Yep.
Okay. All right. What I'll do is I'll put this in the notes that go with this podcast anyway, so people will be able to pick that information up. Also, as well as listening to it, they'll be able to read it and click through to the links as well. So that'll help as well. Okay. So thank you so much for being on today. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you so much as well. I enjoy this a lot.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So everyone, if you're listening and you've liked what you hear today, go and visit the links that I'll be putting up for Eleanor. And if you like this podcast, then subscribe to this as well, so you can know when the next one comes up, and you can learn some more about building a purposeful, profitable business. Bye for now.